Hey, and welcome to Throne of Liberty. So I've been playing this for a few days now since launch back on Tuesday. It's a free-to-play game. You can play on any platform, PS, Xbox, PC, and I'm having a good bit of fun in it. So in this video, I want to cover the first co-op dungeon you'll most likely run into, the Specter's Abyss. Entry requirement is level 20, but I do recommend a bit more, at least gearing your character up to about 700, 800 combat power. You'll see that on your character sheet just down here. Basically like item level in Neverwinter. These co-op dungeons can have a maximum of 6 players, and I do recommend it. And ideally, you'll have a healer or a tank in your group who knows what they're doing. You'll either create a party here in the party matchmaking and find the people you need, or you'll go to the party board and you'll select Specter's Abyss and you'll refresh it and you'll request to join parties, or you'll just join ones which are open. Just be aware that you will be spending some of your contract tokens in order to actually get the rewards, and you only get 360 of them every day. So you are better off waiting and spending them on higher level dungeons with better rewards, especially if you're speed leveling. So we're gonna begin here. I'm playing on a Crossbow Dagger build. And to be honest, I didn't really know why I forgot to switch to the crossbow as my main weapon here, so I was missing out on a lot of auto attacks, but I will do so later. So I'm just gonna let the video play out for you guys. This is the beginning of the dungeon. We'll get through a bunch of mob groups, and the first thing you'll note, at least compared to Neverwinter, is that you generally go from one mob to another, rather than, say, kiting them all together. At least at this power level. Maybe things change later on in the game. And I think a lot of classes don't exactly have a lot of multi-target as well, so it can be better to just go one by one, giving yourself a little bit of a breather between each, making sure you're full mana. And yeah, you'll get through the dungeon, and I'll skip on here. You can just watch the gameplay if you're interested. Otherwise, skip also with me through the timestamps. We'll go to our first elite enemy in this dungeon. So once you get like both gates opened and the gas cleared, you'll clear the group of enemies here as you've just seen, and now you're facing this elite mini boss. He's got a lot more hit points than the rest of the mobs you've faced, and he deals quite a bit more damage. Just be careful of his fury attacks when you get like that glowing circle and when it shrinks, and at a certain point you need to dodge, and if you dodge exactly on the right time you'll get like perfect and you'll get buffs with your dodge ability, and just avoid taking that heavy area damage. There's no need there, and it's a bit of practice before you go to the final boss. But yeah, you'll just beat up this guy. So now you've unlocked the boss room. I do recommend sitting by the campfire, making sure you're all full HP and full mana before you go in. And make sure you all go together, cause the door is gonna close and you're not gonna be able to get in if you leave somebody behind as soon as you attack the boss. So this boss is gonna do moderate damage with his average attacks, and then he's gonna have a few mechanics which is highly recommended you take note of and play properly in order to complete this boss. This was my first playthrough, and I think I was actually pretty lucky with the group I got. They kind of knew what they were doing, although we did wipe on the first attempt. And basically there's a soak check in this boss fight where you have to group up, tank the damage together and survive. that is this black circle that you'll see, and you'll see my teammates will group up with it. And when you do it successfully, then nobody dies. And if you do go and die, there's no like reviving compared to Neverwinter. Once you're dead, you're out. You can only resurrect back at the campfire and you can't come back to the boss fight. You'll see that later on here. So this boss has a mechanic which you just need to dodge. It's got that same fury attack with the purple circle. If you do get hit by it, you take a heavy amount of damage. And if you have a healer, sure, they can compensate you for that and heal you back up. And I do recommend having healing potions. I learned that the hard way in the second time I played this without a healer. I'll show you at the end of the video where you can get those if you're unaware. But ultimately, make sure you're dodging his attacks, moving out of his big like scythe swing attacks. He will occasionally like teleport to somebody and then use a directional attack, which is a big line, and you can like dodge out of the way of that if you time it right. But this damage soak is when you get a black circle on you, you need to all group up and take the damage together. If you don't, you will die like I do. And that put me out of the fight. Fortunately, I had a good team and they carried me to the end. Now once again, you complete these Abyss dungeons, you get the option to spend some of your currency in order to obtain those rewards. So you're going to be limited per day how many you can do and actually get the rewards from. Again, you see the currency at the top here, the dimensional contract tokens. Now what I was speaking of with regards to the healing potions, those are just recovery crystals. And you will find them at any old sundries merchant like this bag icon throughout these towns. You go to them and what you want to purchase is definitely have enough world tree leaves. Just buy a few thousand of them and always have a few thousand of them. But get also these recovery crystals. Yes, they can be a bit expensive, but they're definitely worth it, particularly early on here, giving back 750 health for when you need it. And overall, that was my first co-op experience within Throne and Liberty. Honestly, a good bit of fun. I don't really like the mob fights where you're just going one by one. It feels so like stagnant and not as fun as definitely what you have in Neverwinter, where you group up hordes of enemies and you're slaughtering them all at once with multi-target attack abilities. Here it seems like, again, you're building with single target and you're just attacking one by one. But sure, it's great once you get to the boss and you can fully do that single target rotation that you are practicing and gearing up for and output lots and lots of damage. One thing I also don't like is there's no scoreboard. There's no way to actually compare yourself versus your teammates and see how well you actually did. All you can do is really assume that you're doing well. Is your party completing it or not? And with 6 players, it's hard to tell, am I the one letting down the team or not? Ultimately, it generally boils down to who's dying the most. If you're that squishy DPS and you're dying all the time, you're usually going to be the guy who gets kicked first and gets replaced. Overall, hopefully this is somewhat insightful with the first co-op experience of Throne and Liberty with the Specter's Abyss dungeon. Again, there's a few mechanics and you will struggle if you're a complete new player with a new player party as well who don't know what they're doing. You can of course communicate with them and maybe you can get through a bit easier once you do know the mechanics. But thanks all for watching and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.